Greetings and hello everyone and welcome to GuildGab, a podcast all about Guild Wars 2 and Heart of Thorns. Today is our 50th episode. Congratulations to everybody. Woo! We made it. To 50. Good job.
We did it.
Next up, 100. All right. So today we're going to be talking about the beta weekend event that happened last weekend. This was the second beta weekend, and we got a new section of Verdant Brink, and along with some lore and stuff and some cool stuff to talk about, as well as we got a blog post today about the Mordrum Guard and all the lore that's behind that. I think lots of juicy speculation can come out of that blog post, so we're going to talk about that. But first, I'm going to introduce my wonderful co-hosts, MMO Inks, Alex of the RPG Shack, and Corvus of Corvus Plays.
What's going on, guys?
Akasaurus Rex is here with us in spirits. Lots of love to you, sir. All right. So first of all, let's start and talk about the beta weekend event, because this was kind of a different one, because we got a brand new section of the Verdant Brink. We actually got the ground level, which was not all ground. I died a lot jumping off cliffs and thinking I had gliding.
Died a lot.
Lots of dying.
I think it was pretty good of them that they let us keep our previous beta characters, so we could
definitely.
So all of the mastery points or whatever that we built up in the first beta weekend, we could take over and get to more areas. So I know that people who might not have played it as much as others, at least you could unlock your gliding and your bouncing mushrooms, so you could get to a few more places than you would have been able to, and go and collect those mastery points.
Were there...
For sure.
I found that most of the bouncing mushrooms took me to places that I could... They were kind of like shortcuts, rather than like
exclusive
took you to
areas,
inaccessible areas, right?
Yeah.
Almost all of them, except for a few.
Yeah.
Were like that. I mean, that's what they are, really. The bouncy mushrooms and the speed mushrooms as well. They're shortcuts, ways to get you around the map much faster. Gliding, in some respects, is similar to that. Then it can shortcut you, but of course, gliding is also like you need gliding for almost all of the mastery points.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but most of them.
Most of them. Yeah.
Weirdly, that evil one in the corpse tree, you don't need a mastery to get. You can just drop down the hole in the middle, can't you? I think. Or do you need to?
So
no, you do need to. Well,
if you do it perfectly,
I did it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if you do it perfectly, that's true. You could just drop down and you can get it. But if you mess up or you drop down at the wrong place, then you need either gliding and/or updraft to steer yourself back towards it.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that this was the floor level? The ground?
Yeah, so
I think it's the middle level. It wasn't the canopy, and it wasn't the jungle
so there
floor.
was... Even I was confused about this. When they said floor level in the blog post, I thought, yeah, we're going to get to go underground with like the insect guys or whatever they're called, the chalk. And the floor level literally means the middle level. That's the floor. So we still haven't really seen the canopy unless you're able to kind of break. There were some spots in this beta where you could kind of see the canopy a little bit better. We still haven't seen any of like the roots, the ground floor. Yeah. You say ground floor because that's where you think, but it's the roots. The ground floor is like jungle level, so mid-level.
Yeah.
Terminology.
Okay.
That,
right.
Because I got in there and I'm like, this doesn't look like the underground. I thought we were going to be on the ground floor. What happened?
when I fell off the edge and just fell down and down and down and down and down. I'm like, this is the floor? Like, I just fell for 10 seconds straight.
It was pretty great. I mean, it was more of the same, but it was very, very good. More of the same. I certainly thought the map was. I thought it was a lot more challenging than the first half.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Possibly because some of the day-night cycle felt a little bit more fleshed out than it did in the first beta weekend. That the packed supply kind of escort mission seemed a little bit more fleshed out. Whether or not I just didn't see, the barricades and stuff being built up in the first beta weekend, or not, because I didn't fly around that much. And also dragons. Or wyverns.
Wyverns. Baby wyverns!
Aww.
I felt bad killing the baby.
Little electric ones and fire.
Oh my god!
They weren't called juveniles. They were called Adolescent.
Adolescent.
That's it.
Wyverns.
Adolescent.
So, like, juvenile would mean that they would be tameable.
Ooh.
Adolescent is like, kids.
Yeah.
Of course,
God.
the legendary ancient ones or whatever they were called, the big ones.
What if you could get a Wyvern as a druid pet?
Oh
my god!
How awesome
it
would
shoots
that be,
little
right?
lightning bolts.
Like, we've seen tigers, and many of us rangers assume like tiger's going to be a pet. It makes sense. It's part of the cat class, which I'm pretty excited to get another cat since they do the most DPS. But I mean, yeah, who doesn't want a wyvern as a pet? I mean,
right?
Come on, that's ridiculous.
And there's your different skins. You have like a fire one. You have an electric one. They're so awesome. I couldn't believe the animation on the
ones. Sorry, go ahead.
On the fire one, when it took off and like circled around and like was just shooting. What was a little odd was that its hitbox was still on the floor in the middle of the fire. Yeah. You weren't like shooting up at it. You could hit it, but it was on the ground.
All of them.
Oh,
it's right. The name of it didn't move.
You're right. While it was flying, oh my god, I freaked out when I've never seen an enemy like circle around like that, and I'm just like, when it starts flying, I just ran because that pool of like lava and fire on the ground just spreads. And I'm just like, run! It was so cool.
It was very Games of Thrones-y to me. Like, it reminded me of the dragons in Games of Thrones. The way they're just, I don't know, with the flying animation, the fire breath, and the electric ones were my favorite. The electric fire
cool.
just looked really cool.
Awesome. There was a really great event chain where you end up at the bit where the baby wyverns were, and you call down the legendary wyvern as part of like because so something that I thought was really cool, and this kind of ties into the legendary wyvern, was that there were beta achievements. So each kind of event chain in the beta weekend had its own achievement kind of path, and I assume all of them led to some kind of final face-off with some kind of boss. But the one for the legendary wyvern was where you have to escort nobles to a sanctuary, which includes the wonderful Swordmaster Farron in his speedo,
in his fancy panties.
Yeah, which
so good.
Just
it's
like,
supposed to be a loincloth, which I didn't like at first. I'm like, why is he naked? He's always naked. Why? What is the reasoning this time?
Yeah,
and like if you listen to his ways of dialogue. He's like, maybe a loincloth wasn't the best choice or something like that. I was really expecting like true Tarzan Farron. Like I expected him to have his little like leather hide loincloth, and when he was just in his Speedo, I'm like, why? Like, it was funny, and then after a while, especially because there's all the other nobles, I truly expected to see Farron, like, just him in the treetops, like Tarzan, like, totally feral. And then, so when he's just, like, I mean, he's there with Jasmina, and, like, all these other nobles who are in, their normal clothes, and I'm just like, after a while, I was like, why is he just wandering around in his underwear? Like, it was like... just so goofy.
But when you get to the end of that event chain, you get, I think it's one of the only legendary battles in the beta weekend, and you have to fight the legendary wyvern, which is pretty much the same fight as the wyvern fight from beta weekend 1 and back when we played the demo, except that the break bar was broken.
Yeah.
In that there was just no point at having a break bar. It might as well have just stayed on the ground perma-stunned. Because even though the health scaled to the amount of people that were there, the break bar didn't. And
so just
and so I must have done it half a dozen times, and every time I did it, there were people saying, "Oh, what happens when he gets up off the ground?" And sort of going, well, we all die when that happens. But you see him, he flies up and he breathes the fire and he does like the swoop attacks and everything, and he's invulnerable. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see that. But hey, it was.
Yeah, it happened.
Still...
I've seen it happen 2 or 3 times, but it was very like fluke. Like people could random. The problem is this: the break bar is supposed to be this special thing, and I know this is just an event. It's not a boss. It's not a world boss or anything like that. It's just the ending to an event chain. But regardless of that, the break bar is supposed to be this thing that players have to actively try and disable. And because it didn't scale at all, people were accidentally triggering the break bar without really knowing what they were doing. On top of that, his AI was a little bit off as well, where you could just stand on his tail and rotate with him as he did and not get hit by the fireball, not get hit by the flame breath, or his wing attack, which are like his 3 big attacks. Now, he does have a tail whip, but I don't think it knocks back, and he doesn't do it like nearly enough. And we know like the AI can detect those things. It needs to be a little more fine-tuned to say, okay, well, there's a group of players at my backside. I need to rotate more, or I need to tail whip to knock them back, or something. They need to add like an attack to get players out of there. And at the very least, like if those players decide, I don't want to get knocked back, I'm going to use stability, well, then at least you're making the players make that choice to, okay, he's going to tail whip, we need stability. Because right now you just stand there, swing your sword, and he dies after 15 minutes or something. Yes, you have to rotate a couple of times, but you know, it needs a little tuning, that's all.
So you don't want it to turn into like the Shatterer again, you know, like everyone standing in this one place and there's no challenge or anything to it.
And even when he does manage to get off some of his wing attacks, because you're on a fairly large plateau, there's no imminent danger because he's in the middle all the time. Anytime he knocks you back, you bounce back 2 or 3 times, and you know you still, unless you're at ranged, which I don't even think you might be hit by it, you're not going to go anywhere. There's no danger involved in any of these attacks, except for the fire ones, which stack up burns like it's going out of fashion. Yeah, like you can just you can just kind of like wander through it in 3 seconds. You've got 3 or 4 stacks on you, and
the fire ones were by far the worst. Like I was more scared of the little fire ones than the legendary one, because everybody's I was like, those little fire ones are trouble. I died more times to those.
But yeah, it was stuff I thought that the event chain seemed to work a lot better in this part of the map than it did in the first one.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, one of my favorite event chains in the first one was where you go down towards the ruins in the south, and you have to like clear it of Mordrum. Surprise, surprise, and kind of get through it and stage like a packed rally site or something. But it just kind of seemed to tick over and over and over, and only through some kind of fluke or killing enough bad guys, that eventually you got to the end and achieved it. It was a really cool event chain, you know, breaking through the Mordrum breaches and, you know, escort quests and all that kind of thing. But this part of the Verdant Brink we played, it felt like everything kind of melded with each other a little bit more. That the event chains were all kind of relatable. I mean, yeah, it was all kind of the same thing, that you sort of started, you know, a crash-packed airship or something, and you had to go and rescue people and hold rally points and that kind of thing. But it felt more coherent to me, at least in terms of kind of world building.
Yeah, I agree. I think it felt more like a kind of joint effort, and I think like for me personally, like this weekend kind of sold me on this idea of like it's being this map-wide effort to like a common goal, like find these places, hold them, and together you'll be strong for the nighttime and that kind of thing, which I never really got that feeling in the first kind of section of it. And I don't know whether that was just because some of the events bugged out or something like that, but I think I'm starting to really see what Verdant Brink's going to be like once you know, all of it's available, and I really enjoyed it.
And this is just a tiny part of the map.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Too. So
actually, it did feel. I know it's probably about the same size, but it did kind of feel a bit smaller than the first one to me. I don't know whether that was just. I don't know. It probably wasn't. It just felt like that way. I don't know why.
I think this portion had more layers. I was playing with somebody off stream, and they were like, "This reminds me of Kinetic City. We're just kind of following this path around and wrapping around itself, and very, you know, kind of layered on top of each other, or whatever the case is." But like level, it's tough because this is considered all one level, so level indicators was a little rough as well. to try. Like if you die and you warp out and you want to get back to the event, sometimes that was a little bit frustrating. But then again, like we haven't really spent a lot of time in the map, and the more you learn the map and understand the map, I think that'll be less and less of a problem. But little bit of frustration sometimes with like, how do I get back? I want to get back before it ends, you know, and get credit. But
right.
I think it'll obviously feel a lot better once it's all there as well. Like once we can fly down and not die, and we can probably go a bit lower and that kind of thing. Like it'll feel a bit more together. It was just this one section that we had to play. It felt smaller than the first one.
Are we going to be able to do that? So like actually fly between levels? Because
probably
obviously
not.
Because
really, do you think? No, but didn't they say that you could fly from the canopy right down?
They did
not
say,
talk
yeah.
about that?
No, you're absolutely right. They did say that you can go all the way up to the highest point in the map and jump all the way down. Now I don't know if you're gonna.
That's true. They did say that, and I think you're gonna be able to go from canopy to floor, but floor to basement or floor to roots. I mean, I could be wrong, obviously, but I think, like, I don't know that you're going to be able to glide down there. And if you can, your glider, although, I mean, there's ways to get around that. I was going to say your glider would probably run out, but...
You could just do the free recharges, but...
We do know that in Heart of Thorns, they've implemented a lot of new technology behind the scenes, so even if you don't have to necessarily go through, like, a loading screen, like when you're changing zones... Like, if you're falling, like, you may have to do some kind of slight loading in order to load, like, the next, all the textures and everything. I mean, even just in this beta, jumping down, and when I get to, like, down, if I fell way down to all the roots and stuff, there was never like, a loading, like, I never felt like it was loading, but at the same time, I could kind of see the textures, like, pop in as I was going down, you know? So perhaps there's some kind of new technology.
Yeah, like, kind of... Yeah, kind of like in, I don't know, a game, like a big open world game like GTA, you know, like, especially the old ones when you're flying or something and suddenly this thing appears because it's loading as you're going, kind of thing. Which is the same way I think WoW works.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I don't know how... Yeah, I think that's the best way to go. I don't think there'll be like a kind of loading screen or kind of like a portal type situation, just because I don't know how that would work with kind of, if it was like a separate map almost like that, how they could keep the events consistent and all contribute to the same meta events kind of setup.
And again, that's the question: are the events that are going on in the canopy going to affect the events that are going on in the roots? Yeah. You know, or is it going to kind of be separate?
I would.
They definitely have the tech,
like it's map wide, right?
Right. Yeah. So it has to be one persistent map.
Yeah, we saw him we saw in the Silver Waste, like that was a really high up map. I don't know if any of you guys ever broke out of it or fell off it or anything like that, but like you fell for ages, and like so we know that a map can be that big, and so they could just put stuff in it. It might run slightly worse for people because there's so much going on there.
At the same time, didn't you have to go through some kind of transition in order to get to like this? Like if you're in the script jumping puzzle and it goes way down and way up. It's in the same map.
The way that they did it was that they put the world floor really high up in, like, if you think of like the 3D map box, and the ceiling was here. Like, the world floor was about here, and you could go all the way down. And what you had to do was you had to complete the there was a bandit event in the top right hand corner in the Silver Waste that opens a passageway down to the Skrit ship, and you can actually. Yeah, it's all fully loaded once you go into the map. You don't encounter any loading screens or anything like that. It's all really cleverly, like, kind of woven on top of and inside each other. It's really quite a fantastic bit of map design, the way that they did it.
So in this map, I don't know how many of you guys seen the video or found it yourself, but there's an elevator in this map that is just out of balance. You can't quite reach it. So like what Akun is saying is that, you know, what if this elevator takes you underground, and those pits that we can currently fly into and fall into and whatever the case is, what if those are just like, you fall for a certain amount of time, but then they're covered by vines. So this gives a sense of feeling of you being underground, you being in the roots, but also the dragon is then kind of above you as well. It adds a ceiling without being a real ceiling. And this way, there's not really a transition in the sense that you'll probably just hit his roots or something, maybe. Yeah, then again, maybe you'll just be able to glide down to the bottom of it or something. I'm just, I guess we really have to see, and I don't know that we're going to get to see that before game launch, like, the launch of the game.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think the next weekend is going to be in the same area? Do you think they'd show us another new area to test it? Or...
Well, each time they've said it was around 25% of the map or something, right? And there was still like a little tiny middle chunk that was kind of separating the two places we've been to, I think. Really small, but like it was there. So I don't know. I think it's likely that it would just be the same area again, because we still have the two specializations, and they're only going to be getting one Baker weekend for us to test. So maybe they'll want to focus on those things, so they're not going to be really going to give us a new area. They want everyone to focus on testing these things out just to make sure it's ready, maybe. I'm not too sure.
What I would like to see is open up both portions. We've now seen about 50% of the map.
Oh, yeah.
Open up the beginning portion, open up the portion that we had last weekend, and then there's just a little sliver in the middle that's like, what, I don't know, 5% or something. The thing to keep in mind is I think that there might be a little bit more above us, like to the north of the map, that we haven't quite seen, as well as you have to take into account, like we've seen now, like almost 50%, 2 slices of 25. There's a little bit in the middle, but we haven't seen the bottom floor, which would make up another, I don't know, almost 50% maybe, and some of the canopy. So that adds into the whole percent of the map. When you're when they say you're only going to see 25%, well, we haven't really seen the canopy that much, or at all, really. We haven't seen the floor, so that makes up like the other 50% of the map, I think.
Yeah.
But it would be really cool if we had like Beta Weekend Event 1 and Beta Weekend Event 2, open that up so that we can see what it's like to run events in this half and events in this half. And then at night, part of my problems with the night thing, I think, is that we're not getting the full night picture. We don't get to see what it's like to have several groups trying to complete events at once.
Yeah.
And we haven't
you're in this
seen... like, as far as I know, like, I've never seen anybody complete the night event successfully. Like, to really build all of the things at once and then keep them active. So,
I've seen a couple of... I've seen a few tier 5 packed sites, but it's usually always the same ones. It's usually the one at the very beginning of the map, and it's always usually the dragon one or the wyvern one as well. I think
night seemed kind of incomplete to me. I felt like it was lacking something. Like during the day, I felt like there was all these dynamic events and different stories going on. And at night, I felt like I was almost disappointed that it was night, not because it was more difficult and there was enemies suddenly everywhere, but I felt like I didn't have as much to do. I was like, okay, I can fight more drum and defend this outpost.
I think it didn't feel that urgent, right? And they were telling us that, the jungle gets deadly, and there's more things to kill, but it wasn't harder. Really, but then I think maybe that comes from the fact that we're in this small space with all these players, and so everything's kind of easy. Maybe, like you were saying, it's like if we were to have both halves, and we actually have to spread across the map to make sure these points are being held and the events are being done, it might actually be a bit more challenging. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think we're seeing the whole picture at night. I think you need the whole map to be open, and like they said, you're gonna be inclined to coordinate between the map. You're going to actually talk in map chat. Okay, we need more people at this outpost, and we need more people at this outpost.
Exactly.
But with this small area, it was kind of like you had enough players that there were players kind of everywhere. But when you have more space and more outposts to defend, there's going to have to be that coordination.
Yeah, in a similar way to how Silverwaste kind of is, where you have to make sure there's people at each thing and there's enough people there and stuff like that. I think there's going to be people and there'll be a commander at each outpost. Like it'll be a bit more legit. It's a kind of meta event for the map.
Yeah.
I still think night is too long though. I think 45 minutes.
How long is it?
It is
45
long.
minutes. Yeah,
it is long.
I noticed that. Yeah.
And
I think that needs to be adjusted.
It's fun, but I don't think day is that long. Or if it is, you don't have the timer on day. which I guess kind of makes sense because the whole idea is that it's a bit of a frantic kind of rush, to make sure that you grab as much as you can before night falls, and then it goes, in 3 minutes it's going to be night, and you're stuck in it for the next 45 minutes. And one of the things that I saw people complaining about in map chat was that if you're trying to complete the achievement chains, so if you're trying to complete the meta events, as soon as night falls, they don't fail, but they just disappear. And the night cycle activates. So if you've been following Summit for 25 minutes, waiting to get to the end, and then night falls 30 seconds from finishing, it's a bit of a kick in the bum. So
right.
if night was based on
event progress or something,
on like event progress or something like that. So Sally, if you're thinking about having the story play out in the map, if you have half a dozen event chains or whatever, and if they all play out and they all either fail or they succeed, and once all 6 have played out, that is when night falls, and that is when you have your defend phases, that is when you have your resource collect phases, and then when day breaks, the 6 events begin again, and cycles like that.
Yeah.
It just felt, I mean, I've said it already, it just felt like they needed a little bit more coherence in how day and night interacted and how the event chains kind of ran through the map, rather than just being kind of random Zerg fests.
Yeah. You want them to feel connected, and the things you do in one actually impact what happens in the other. Like, we kind of tier up the points and stuff like that, but I don't know, like they were always saying, like, spend the day doing as much as you can to prepare for the night, basically. It didn't really feel like
that. Yeah, it felt like the Mordrin were vampires. As soon as daylight came, they just vanished. They were all gone, and it's like, I thought we just lost. Where'd they go? I don't feel overrun or pressure.
Because in Silver Wastes, if you screw up an event, like, it gets overrun by Mordrim and you have to clear it again.
Yeah, if it did, in the butt,
if they did that kind of thing where there was like a fail clause, and so like the next day would actually be properly impacted by this stuff, like in a noticeable and meaningful way, and maybe it will be once we kind of see how it plays out properly, because night kind of felt easy and wasn't a challenge. I don't really know what happens if you just screw it up. So
I felt like it was a challenge. I just felt like it was a lot more boring than day. Like I had someone,
a bit more shallow.
I was streaming it and I had someone tell me, "Oh, go do this event chain and you can learn this lore," and I was all excited. And then night fell, like right then, and I was like, "Oh, now I have to wait 45 minutes to go do this event chain." I actually felt like just logging out and going do something else during night and come back in 45 minutes. Like that, I shouldn't ever get that feeling. I should be excited, even if it's more challenging and harder. I should be excited for the events that are going on at nighttime.
And I mean, like, ArenaNet, a lot of people have always criticized, like, the kind of event chain system in terms of storytelling, and a lot of people would rather, like, traditional quests, because it's more like a story that you're reading, and it's so easy to miss stuff. And so if things are just kind of disappearing because, it's changed to halfway through and you've not finished the chain, that's going to be really hard for people to follow, which is a shame.
But that's how dynamic events are, and that's how they've always been in this game.
Yeah, I'm used to it. I don't mind, like, because you can just do it again and find out what happens next, or it's gonna make you more eager the next. I just don't mind that much, like, because I can eventually see it. It's not like I've missed it forever or something. But I know it bothers a lot of people, and I think so. Maybe making them, I don't know. Is there even like I didn't notice any kind of solid transition. Like, say if you were halfway through an event, did it? Or something, and it went nighttime. What happens? Did the NPCs like disappear, or is it?
They pretty much either kind of.
Or do they say something like,
they just
"Oh,
kind
we
of
need to head back," or something? Yeah.
I don't think they acknowledge night at all. It just it's nighttime, and I don't know.
Yeah. Ginger Wolfie says the best way to fail would be map-wide death for all. That works for Tequatl because, as a world boss, when you fail, the consequences have to be that the world boss wins. You're in the Verdant Ring.
Tequatl doesn't always kill everybody. You can avoid it.
Oh, yeah, you can dodge it or something, can't you? Or do something.
You can use the jump pads to avoid the wave. You can actually still kill him if you fail it once. Failing it twice is kind of a no-go, but yeah.
Oh, wait, if you get the bone wall up?
No. Like it. So if one of it, off topic, but if one of the what are they called? One of the stations. I forget the stupid name.
Oh,
one of the stations fall. He does the tidal wave, where he's supposed to wipe the map in that area.
Oh, right.
But you can avoid that, and there used to be a hidden achievement for it, which they've now taken out of the game, unfortunately, and I never did get it. But if you use a jump pad when the tidal wave is coming at you, you can actually jump over the wave.
Oh, cool, cool.
And there used to be a hidden achievement for that, but you can still do that. You can still, like, your raid or the map can still avoid the wave, and then you don't actually die, and you can continue to DPS him. But if that happens more than twice, it's kind of like it's reset twice now, and now you don't have enough time to really DPS him. It usually does mean like a map wipe, but not always.
Oh, but to me, anyway. That kind of thing. I mean, to me, that kind of thing has something like a finality about it, because it's supposed to be this back and forth struggle. Having essentially a game over on the map doesn't really make sense to me in terms of how it sits with the story that the map's trying to play out.
It should feel more like, you've been pushed into the corner, and so you have to push back, rather than it's lost, like you screwed up, So yeah, I think like a map-wide death thing would kind of be a bit, because in the Silver Waste that happens with Vinewrath, but you kind of waypoint back to the start of the map and you start your push again, so it still kind of feels like it doesn't feel as so permanent or just like final, like you said, of just like, oh, you've lost, game over kind of thing.
Right.
Well, one of the things that I was kind of a bit disappointed about that after the night events, there was You alright, mate?
Yeah. Someone said in chat, the day event change should carry on into the nighttime. It should just be a lot harder with loads of Mordrim. So you're still aiming to finish the change before nightfall properly, so you have a higher chance of not failing.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
That sounds awesome. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I really wanted to see was an evolution from how the Silver Wastes ended, because you essentially get a soft reset on that map, regardless of whether you kill the Vinewrath or not. And at the end of the night cycle, that's pretty much what happens. You end the night cycle regardless of how well you did. I think a couple of waypoints might be contested depending on how your defend events went, but aside from that, there aren't any real consequences to completely buggering up a night cycle.
Right. Chat has another good idea, that what if you fail the night cycle, it's like the Scarlet Marionette, where if you fail, everybody on the map dies.
Everyone in the game dies.
Everybody in the whole game.
Everybody in serial wipes.
Characters are deleted.
So, what classes did we spend the weekend playing?
Dragon Hunter.
Yeah? What did we think?
I love the Reaper so much.
I have heard nothing but praise for Reaper. I haven't actually tried it yet.
It's so good. It's so good. I love it so much.
I love Dragon Hunter. It's not like, I know there's been a lot of hate for it, and I can't talk from a balance or damage, DPS, anything like that. I can't really talk from that standpoint. But the one thing I did notice was that you have a longbow and you have traps. I was more inclined to use my traps when I was using my greatsword, because I'm actually up in the fray and I have enemies on top of me, so it made sense to use my traps so that they would get caught with these conditions and damage. When I had the traps on, because I just had like full Dragon Hunter gear most of the time, so I had like my full complement of traps. The right side of my bar was completely traps, and I found myself using the longbow. I found myself running in so I could use my traps, because otherwise I was just standing in the back and firing, and my utility skills were useless, and my elite was useless because I was way back. I mean, sometimes you got your they close the gap, and so then you can use it and try and get away. So that was nice, but that was much less common than if I just used my greatsword, went into the fray, and then just laid all the traps and so that was my only. I think that was my only complaint.
It's hard to use. I think in terms of group content, it'd be hard to use traps and a longbow at the same time. If you're kind of solo, you can lay your traps and then use the bow to pull the enemy towards you. But that's not necessarily going to happen if there's a
lot of the new
enemies
enemies in the jungle that didn't work on. I had Hylet going into stealth, and I had them actually, like, they were smarter. Like, that might have gone, if I went in Central Tyria and did that, it probably would have worked a lot better. But in the jungle, I found that wasn't a good tactic, because they had their ranged attacks themselves, and no matter how far I went back, they just wouldn't come into the trap. So, Mordrum are smart.
On Dragon Hunter, though, you do have two of your virtues close the distance. So you've got a pull and you've got a leap as well.
Right, but like what Peachy's saying is the class itself is counterintuitive. I lay a trap and I shoot you with my longbow, and you never come to my trap. Especially like Corvus is saying in group content, they're probably never going to come to your trap. And so in order to use your trap,
you have to close the distance, which defeats the purpose of longbow.
Right, and you can close the distance. That's very possible. Like, you have the tools to do that, but then it's like, now, why do I have a longbow?
Then I just switch to greatsword, because now they're on top of me.
But that's something that rangers have to deal with, though, and we don't really have a gap closer except like a dash on greatsword.
But how often are you using traps along with your bows on ranger?
That's true.
So,
but one of the major changes for Ranger recently was that traps were no longer ground targeted, because I mean I include myself in this. If I wanted to kind of mess around and just like chuck bombs everywhere on a Ranger, I just equip a whole bunch of traps and just go around chucking fire traps down and ice traps and all that kind of thing.
I saw that a lot in map chat, the feedback for Dragon Hunter. I heard a lot of people saying, if I could just throw my traps, it would solve everything.
And they would be
completely exactly. Yeah.
For me, having traps as ground targeted completely removes the point of them, because otherwise they might as well just be like another kit for engineer or something like that. And even in Guild Wars 1, traps weren't ground targeted. They had to you had to set them on the floor before you entered combat and that kind of thing.
And I think in things like World vs. World or structured PvP, traps work better in the sense that your enemies are going to be running at you. They're going to be coming to you. They don't really work in structured PvP, but ideally that would be a better format for it. Or give the Guardian a taunt of some sort so that you can pull them into the traps. They don't want to come towards you, but I'm going to make you come to my trap.
Exactly.
That would be preferable, but they don't really have, unless I'm wrong, they don't really have that.
I don't think Guardians have a taunt.
So that would be like in the perfect world, I guess. I didn't get to play Dragon Hunter this weekend because there's a bunch of changes coming to Dragon Hunter, which I am very interested in trying out. But unfortunately, they didn't make it into this beta, so we're going to have to wait to the next beta to really try that. But I'll be interested to see how Dragon Hunter evolves next beta, to see if it's better and stronger and that stuff.
I've still not played Dragon Hunter at all.
It's pretty cool.
Should probably give it a shot. Oh, what did you guys think about Daredevil then? Because that was the most recent thing we got to play with.
Dodge was clunky as balls. Yeah. That's what I took away from it.
Sadly, it was really fun. Like, I really loved Daredevil, and I had a blast playing Daredevil. But the dodges were very, very clunky.
It's really that slight pause before you dodge.
It kind of, it felt like I was playing with like really high ping or something, like it was just like, it felt like there was a kind of delay between what I was wanting to do and it actually happening.
Right, so there was a precast and an aftercast on the dodge. Now the aftercast, I understand that I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
but the
for
precast, the precast kills it because you can't dodge like a normal person anymore.
Yeah, it can't be like a reactionary
interrupted.
thing to do. Yeah.
Exactly, you were getting interrupted before even getting a dodge off. In structured PvP, it was crippling in many ways. That being said, the dodges were very cool. They were awesome. I had a lot of fun with that. But you know, it needs tweaking.
Yeah, because I mean, the whole point, the dodge is there as a kind of like an oh crap button. You know, like you press and like that moment it needs to be like this instant payoff, like a split second of immunity or something. Like just it's there for that reason. So if you have to give yourself even just a split second of time in advance to think about doing it, like before it just isn't, it doesn't work how dodges are supposed to work. And I can understand maybe why they did it. Maybe they had to change what it was considered. Like I saw a lot of people on Reddit talking about whether it's technically a skill. It's, you know, it's in the game, kind of game thinks it's a skill rather than like the separate thing. And people were talking about, you know, when like your game times out and your skills, when you press them, they just flash. I don't know if you guys have ever had that. If you have like a connection problem, you can still dodge around because it's handled separately, not like a skill. But for this, I think maybe it is considered that, and that's why it feels different, or it's open for kind of input lag stuff or something. I'm not too sure. But that definitely needs to be sorted, because people were posting like ways to play Daredevil without having any of the traits equipped. So you
was
didn't
without
have
a Grandmaster. Was that Nike who posted that doing playing a Daredevil without the Grandmaster traits, so you don't activate the skills and you don't create the cast time.
I don't know if Nike posted that or not. Somebody did post it, or I did see people talking about like, oh, just don't take a Grandmaster trait and.
And that sucks.
Then you'll be fine.
What? That shouldn't be a feature. That shouldn't
exactly.
So
to me, that's the same as like, I'm going to fail this event because it's more rewarding.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not going to take any traits because it makes the class play better.
Right.
How does that make any sense?
It's I don't know. It's
I
weird.
They'll fix
It'd be like
choosing
to play a Necro without Death Shroud or something like that. It's just like,
I'm never using Death Shroud. You can't make me. Because Death Shroud is terrible. I'm never going in it. No, it's just silly. It's silly for that. I mean, ArenaNet knows. They've seen the feedback, I'm sure. So I have faith.
Yeah. What did you guys think of Herald?
Oh my god, I loved it. Oh, I loved it.
Herald scares me.
It's so good.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. What scares me is how is it the staple of the class? It feels to me like it's the staple.
Exactly. Yeah.
Herald plus something else for almost. I don't want to say every, because somebody's going to correct me and say, no, Inks, you're wrong. You're gonna play this and this because they're amazing together. But like Herald, which is the elite specialization for Revenant, feels to me like it's the staple. I want to be Herald and Shiro. I want to be Herald and Jalis. I want to be Herald and Malix. Like, I always want to be Herald. The passives, I didn't even want to leave Herald. I just wanted to stay in my passives forever. Yeah. Might, Fury, and Speed, and I don't care. I don't need any of that other stuff. I don't even need another legend.
Well, there is a trait that you can take that whenever you use any assassin skills on the Shiro legend, you generate might for yourself, and then all you do once you've used a bunch of those, you swap over and then share the love. But like you were saying, you can. I mean, I just permanently went around with Fury and Might passively on, and I was still getting energy generation.
Yeah, because you could. I think there's two of them, two facets. I think you could have up without draining anything. I think, or something like that.
Three of them. You could run Speed, Fury, and Might without draining anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
But interestingly, I can't remember this happening last time. Instead of generating energy now, weapon attacks cost energy to use. Because one of the big things... No, I thought one of the big things when we first got Revenant was that when you use your attack skills, they generate your energy. Or have I always been misunderstanding that?
So besides auto attack, because auto attack doesn't cost energy, but all of your one of the problems I've had with Revenant is that it's a double dip class. So thieves just have to worry about initiative on skills. Revenant has to worry not only about cooldown but energy management as well on weapon and utility skills. Now that being said, you can't just remove the cooldowns from the weapons. And you can't, I don't know that you can necessarily remove the energy cost, but you can lower the numbers for some of those things, I think, to balance it better. That being said, with Herald, I felt like I had a better time managing my energy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Did you think, how did you think about Shield tying with Herald? Yeah. I ended up having.
Sorry, but
I
bad
played it
weapon.
for the sake of playing it, but it felt kind of boring, if I'm honest.
For the number 4 skill was okay. I didn't mind it. I thought it worked well. Number 5, that I know it's supposed to be your get out of jail free card, your red button, your shit button. It roots you. No, not good. I didn't like it.
You do get a break bar though.
Yeah, but it didn't feel like
Don't care.
Kind of I think it's just one of those skills that will have some use like every now and then, but I don't think I would use it enough to warrant having it equipped all the time. You know, I just don't. I don't think I would use that skill enough. And the 4 skill's cool, but
it worked well with Chalice. Bit of protection, bit of stability.
But then if you're running that kind of build, you don't really need you're tanky enough already, right? Like you've got other things going on. I don't know, maybe you try it that way. I don't know. Shiro and Glint though was just delicious. It was so good. The animation for activating the facets and stuff was amazing. Hearing Glint talk.
That was cool.
Super good.
Yeah, the weird thing is I ended up taking axe in the offhand for both of my weapons. So I had mace axe for might generation, and then I had sword axe for gap closing and just general kind of dancing around. And I did fall over a lot. I'm still pretty crap at managing my evades on the Revenant because I just got hit and went down like every couple of minutes. But having the gap closers on 4 on the axe and the jump on the Shiro thing was really, really kind of useful, especially when you just want to dive in there, do loads of DPS, and then hopefully you're still alive by the time the bad guys fall over. This is the way I play the game. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed with the shield. I mean, I knew it was going to be a defensive weapon.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of like...
It just those kind of skills, to me anyway, are always kind of boring. I really like playing control classes. Like that's probably my favorite thing. But if I'm not that, it's just like straight up kind of damage stuff. So I've never really ever in any game been interested in the kind of support type of play. And like I don't know, like and I kind of wasn't. I don't know. The Revenant didn't feel like I really like the class and stuff, but I didn't super love it. And then Glint comes along. It's a support kind of role, and it kind of changed my mind. And now I'm like in love with it. And so that like was really interesting. But I think for the weapon skills and stuff like that, I'm still gonna be wanting to be focusing on a bit more of a high damage kind of thing rather than a. Because I guess I find sitting in a bubble of crystals holding a shield kind of boring. You know, I can't move, it doesn't feel like I'm involved enough, I don't think. I'd rather get good and just try not to die.
What's interesting is Brazil was the same way as Corvus. I've been talking to him, for months now, and I was like, how are you not excited for Revenant? He's like, I don't care. I don't like the class. It offers nothing I enjoy. And then Herald came out, and he's like, oh my god, I love Revenant. Like, Herald literally makes the entire class for him. Without Herald,
absolutely,
he doesn't like the class. And I think a lot of people were like that. They weren't really impressed with Revenant until Herald. And I think that's awesome. I think that's great, but it also worries me a little bit that you need that elite specialization to feel like you love the class, and I don't know how to
It's a
feel
shame,
about
but
that
then
exactly.
I think there are a lot of people that do like the Revenant for what it was before the Herald, and I guess it's a good thing that like the specializations made that much of a change in people's opinions, because I don't know, they were always meant to be like a different way to play these classes. So I don't really like Ranger, but I'm really looking forward to Druid because maybe I'll like the way that plays, and so that kind of it makes more people like.
You? Do you mean you don't like Ranger? Everyone likes.
Okay, I like Ranger for it's the easiest PvP daily to do. But I don't know, like I think I think it's good that it's making like something like the specialization can make people change their views on classes, because it means that they're kind of different enough and making enough good changes to something, good or bad. You know, there's going to be people that run Guardian and don't like Dragon Hunter, and I think that's kind of a good thing, rather than everyone running the specialization or they're being too bad and no one running them.
Right.
It should be kind of a mixed bag.
Right.
How did you guys feel it? Oh, go on, Nick, sorry.
Berserker.
Yeah.
Oh.
So ridiculous.
But who here played Berserker?
I did.
I did not.
I played it for a couple of hours.
So,
like
warrior with burning on yourself.
Like I appreciate the idea of someone being a mobile fire field, but it's just like, give it to someone else, for God's sake. And
I mean, I thought it was cool, but it didn't feel, and I said this in my video, it didn't feel impactful. When I go Rampage, I grow in size and I do crazy damage, and I go nuts on people. I feel like I'm rampaging. When I go Berserk, it's like I set myself on fire.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Shooting the fireballs from the sword is pretty cool, though.
A lot of the special skills are cool. Not all of them, but a lot of them are very cool, and I did like a lot of them. I enjoyed playing Berserker, and I like Torch. Torch's damage needs a little tweak, but
sorry,
I
guys,
really did like I really did like the class, and I thought it was kind of fun to play, but I just felt like I was playing Warrior Plus. I didn't feel... When I play Reaper, I feel like I'm playing a different class. When I play Herald, it changes the class. Even Dragon Hunter, which I'm not super thrilled about, I do feel like I'm playing totally different than I would normally play my Guardian. And, well, Tempest is a mixed bag. But regardless, like, Berserker just made me feel like, okay, I'll probably want to take this. I set myself on fire, I cleanse conditions, which is really great. I can blast my fire field, and a number of the skills I'm using are very cool. Like, the Greatsword skill I really loved. Torch was fun to use, but it didn't feel any different than I'm already playing Warrior. Like, a little bit, but not enough. And when you go Berserk, I didn't feel like I was going Berserk. I just felt like I set myself on fire. It wasn't, like, overwhelming. It wasn't impactful to me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm expecting too much, but like I said, when I go Rampage, I feel like one of the guys from the video game Rampage. I'm kicking over buildings and I'm punching people and I'm going crazy. And when I go Berserk, I feel like I should go nuts. Yes, you're attacking a little bit faster, your weapons do something a little bit different, but I didn't feel like I was going crazy on somebody, you know.
Yeah. That's the kind of impression I got. I didn't actually play it, but when I was watching the points of interest, it did just kind of feel like I would be using it the same way I'm using my Warrior now.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
I thought it was kind of interesting that you had... I mean, I didn't realize this from the blog post, but I thought it was kind of interesting that you had to build up the adrenaline, and you had to build up to getting into Berserk stance, rather than just being able to automatically flip it on because you had the specialization equipped. And, you know, so it kind of makes sense that you have to build yourself up into this Berserk stance and kind of go for it. And the fact that it has a limited timer on it as well. Is it like 10 seconds or something that you can stay in it?
15?
Yeah, 15 sounds about
You could get 3 weapon attacks off if you were lucky. If you were good at
3 bursts.
And maintaining it, you could get 3 bursts off. Usually you got like 2 and almost 3. You could get about 3 bursts off, so I think it's 15 seconds.
Yeah.
which was okay. Like, I don't think it needs to be nerfed. I don't think it needs to be buffed, really.
It just didn't feel different
a little
enough.
bit, maybe. But yeah, I don't know if it's just the animations or maybe the attack speed needs to be a little faster. Maybe I'm wrong on that too, though.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
But
Berserk quickness. Just.
and like you get a little bit of. I think you get a little bit of attack speed from it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think you do. But like again, like maybe it's because I was playing Asura and they're very small. I didn't feel like, even when I set myself on fire, it's like, oh, I'm glowing red now, and there's a little bit of fire, but it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just.
See, I was super curious.
Me. It didn't knock my socks off like the other classes did when you see their special abilities and stuff.
Because I was always
wings.
super.
I have turkey wings that I swoop in. Like, I set myself on fire. I just felt like no one enemy set me on fire, except I did it to myself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought the elite skill was very underwhelming. It's like, yeah, you get to headbutt somebody, but you daze or confuse yourself. It's daze, isn't it, I think?
Days, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, yeah, great, but...
I mean, the elite is good. Okay, the elite has a short cooldown. You do daze yourself for 1 second. You daze them for 2 seconds, I think. And you can stun break out of it, which is nice. And it does fill your adrenaline bar to full so that you can pop Berserk right away. But, yeah, I don't know. It's missing just a little something there as well.
Yeah. Speaking of elites, I thought the Daredevil elite was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Like the old school kind of Street Fighter combo thing.
Yeah.
I need to find that Twitch footage. Pulling that off in Stronghold, like on the Lord or another player, where you're punching them and you uppercut them and then you plant them. If you can do that in one motion where you knock them down, like they're alive, but you do the elite and you knock them down and plant them in one fluid motion, it is ridiculously satisfying. Like, you feel like Superman for about 10 seconds until somebody else comes and owns you. But like, doing that on a Lord, and doing it on a Lord is even more amazing. It's like, oh, the Lord's almost gonna die. Let me pull my elite off and punch and uppercut him and knock him down, and to get that
him in one go, and then you win the game.
Like, it's not super easy to do, but man, is that satisfying.
So it sounds like Berserkers kind of lose it. Not the most underwhelming, but it lacks that wow factor, doesn't it? That even something like Dragon Hunter has. That when you've got the Maws of the Dragon, and you know, that kind of stuff. Even if, you know, maybe it's not the most functional class
it still looks impressive. I gotta say, every single time a Dragon Hunter trap goes off, I'm like, yes, swirling blades and spikes and dragon heads. It was like so impressive.
Yeah. So it feels like a big deal, and I don't know, from the sounds of it and the looks of it, Berserker just kind of didn't feel snazzy enough, really. And if it's not forcing you to kind of play in a different way, I don't know. I don't know. Like, there's no, like, for instance, what we were saying about the Herald, like, I don't think there's anyone in the world that's gonna go, I didn't like Warrior, but I'm gonna make one now because of Berserker, you know?
Right.
So, I don't know.
I don't think it... I think with all of the other classes that felt different enough from the core class, and I think the problem with Berserker is that even though you get the burning, it doesn't feel like a unique enough distinction from Warrior, if that makes sense. I mean, you can essentially still do all of the same stuff that you can on a Warrior, but you just do it with fire instead. And if you look at Chronomancer, stuff like the Continuum Shift and the Reaper's Chills and the Necrocopter and the Tempest Airbender stuff, all of that, you know, even it sets them apart from their original class, especially the Elemental, the Shouts, which I actually think are pretty powerful. But I just don't get that with Warrior. Like, it's partly due to things like the big rock throw seems a bit kind of and the one of the skills is just a stun break, which I think is like a right cop out.
Yeah, it kind of.
Personally, but
a good stun break.
It's a good it's got
but
like a 10-second
it's still
cooldown.
That's all it really is, right? It's a stun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully they have enough time whenever the third beta weekend is going to be, I hope that it's enough time before launch that if we have these same issues with Engineer and Druid, that they can fix them, because, you know, there was a lot of feedback about, I don't know what they can do about Warrior, really, just being underwhelming in general, but, like, the dodge issues with Thief, you know, or Daredevil, you know that they're going to fix that. Like, they have to fix that, and they have the time to do that. So I hope that we get enough time so that if there's any kind of issue with the Druid and the Engineer Elite,
that's the thing, we're like what?
We're so close now, though.
We're like 6 weeks.
Yeah,
six weeks or something, and 2 of those weeks is already set aside for. It's gonna be the Druid and the Forge, or what, the NG specialization.
Yeah.
And so they need to reveal those things before we get another beta weekend. So that gives them 3 weeks. And that's running, say, next week Druid, the week after NG, the week after that beta weekend.
Right.
Yeah, they could announce one and then have it that same weekend or something. But it's 3 or 4 weeks at the most that they're going to be able to have between that one test of these 2 specializations and when the game ships. Like, that's, I don't know. I hope that's going to be enough time.
The other complaint for Daredevil, and it didn't really bother me, but I know it seemed to really bother a lot of people, was that their staff animations are mostly copied from other things. Hammer, mostly, actually. So they hold the staff in a weird way, first of all.
Yeah.
I think even the Elite had some copied animations from other skills. There was just a lot of copy pasta going on with Daredevil's staff. Like the shovel thing, and being held like a hammer, basically being swung like a hammer in some regards. So and I don't know that there's time to fix all those different animations. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it would be a shame if that ruins it for a player. But at the same time, you got to look at your character and what they're doing. And so, like I said, it didn't bother me, but that seemed to be really important, or a big point to a lot of people I talked to over the weekend, was that they were like, I like staff, but it's killing the class for me because it looks like he's wielding a hammer. Why is he wielding a hammer? It's a staff.
Right.
Or why is this copied from this, and et cetera, et cetera. So.
Well, I cannot believe it has been an hour already. But we cannot end the show because we have a big, huge thing still to talk about. And that is the Blighting Tree. And the Corpse Grove. And the Mordrum. And that whole this whole giant chunk of lore here that we got from this part of the map. Yeah. I think this is huge. This was the thing that excited me the most in the beta weekend was the introduction to this. And I guess this could possibly be considered spoilery for anyone who's trying to stay completely spoiler free. So I guess that's kind of your spoiler warning. So in the top, in the northeastern corner of the map, we found what appeared to be like a dead pale tree, basically. And there were Mordrum seed pods, and you could see them kind of pulsing, and we learned through the event chain that this tree is called the Blighting Tree, and it is producing Mordrum. And so there's a whole event chain in Verdant Brink where you have to follow this little group that's actually being led by a Quaggan, and it's amazing. And you have to eventually end up at the tree and plant bombs in order to blow up this tree. And they are trying to destroy this tree because it is actively bringing corpses to this tree, copying them to create more Mordrum. And the Mordrum that it's creating, along this event chain, you actually fight a Mordrum that the NPCs say it looks like one of their friends that died.
De-armored.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. Though, that being said, it looked like an alien. I don't know how they recognized any Sylvari face on that, but hey, it was cool.
Yeah.
That's Phil. He's got red hair. Can't you tell it's him? I mean, look, we came out the same cycle, bro. Come on, it's totally him. It's just I can see his Sylvari tattoo.
Phil the Sylvari. I think what's kind of cool about it is that if you played the beta and you saw this and you taken lore, it's a dead tree producing Sylvari, or a pale tree, how it was supposed to be with the corruption of Mordramoth or whatever. if you look at what's going on in the game right now, you have corrupted Sylvari roaming over. Is it 3 maps? Diessa, Diessa, Brisbane, and Kessex Hills.
With
you have these
attacking.
You have these kind of like pumped up Sylvari just going bananas at everybody and not dropping loot from what I've been reading so far.
Damn you, Mordremoth. He took all the loot first and then he said, how could you be so cruel?
I know.
Zomros is not so cruel.
Yeah, he gives you blues back. I mean, come on.
But what's kind of interesting is that in the Sylvari personal story, you can take, and we've talked about this guy dozens of times before, Malik, he came from another tree, and one of your Sylvari chums asks, does he even have a dream? So they thought he possibly might have been soundless or something like that. But what if this is his tree 3 years later?
Yeah.
And Malik comes back to has finally managed to get back to his home. And
everybody dead.
He's dead.
Everybody's gone dead.
I love this idea of, I don't know that particular tree is Malik's. Like, it definitely leads you to believe there's many of these trees, or at least multiple. Yes. I would love the idea of getting deeper into the jungle, another map perhaps, finding a larger tree. The blighted tree is pretty big, but even a larger one, and running into an unchanged Malik who hasn't been corrupted by the dragon.
Yeah.
And him letting you know, like, this was, I figured it out. This was the tree I came from, because he like floated downstream or something,
right?
Yeah.
And came out. And the blog post that we had today, which we really haven't talked about yet, explains the process a little bit. And it sounds like these are Sylvari that look like Sylvari we have now, and then they're changed and they're corrupted and they're grown and they get bigger and look different. But Malik is not like that. He looks like all other Sylvari. He's just not attached to the Pale Tree, so he doesn't have a dream. He doesn't have those memories. The Pale Tree can't communicate with him. And it would be really cool if Malik is one of these Sylvari, not of the Pale Tree, but still resists like the call,
the
of
corruption. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
You kind of give us hope, like there's other ways other than our Pale Tree to block the corruption. So it's like, what's that? What's he using to block the corruption? I don't know, unless he's evil now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah,
the blog post goes into so much as well. Like, it talks about, like you said, how the Sylvari, when they get corrupted, they get bigger, they get covered in this hard bark and all this stuff. But it also talks about how it says, while their minds are not entirely their own, they retain all their previous intelligence and can talk and organize themselves to fulfill the dragon's wishes. And also talks about how, like, the most dangerous ones are the commanders, and how they still use, like, pact tactics and things like that. They've got these things that were obviously what they've been taught by being a part of the pact or the Pale Reavers or something. But, like, they still have those memories there and can use them, like, against us, basically. Which is going to be really interesting, because it means that we could potentially have cool conversations with enemy characters or bosses or something that could say bits of dialogue, because they're obviously still kind of aware of everything. They've changed sides, basically.
right.
And there's also the quote talking about how Mordremoth has an inexhaustible supply of, like, these 3 commanders that he has. So when one dies, he just makes another one, which I thought was just it was a good excuse for just, the boss respawns.
The events are going to repeat. Yeah, I thought that was odd too. I was like, okay. I mean,
it's like, really?
It makes sense, but do you have to? I felt like it was unnecessary for them to put that in there because it's such an obvious game mechanic.
Yeah,
like the same bosses are, these commanders are going to keep spawning. It's like,
hold up. Not only do they look the same, but they have the same name. Your name used to be Phil. No, your name is Tongue Boss.
Yeah, that was a little odd, but I thought it was. I thought it was interesting that it specifically said that there's 3 commanders.
Yeah.
And it asked the question, so which Sylvari have become Mordremoth Guard? And so it's like, what are these three commanders? Because it specifically said that it's like, it's copied living or dead.
Yeah,
other
see, that's
Sylvari.
what I was going to say. So
my money is on.
What if one's win?
My money is on Scarlet.
Win.
What? Win
Really?
too. Win's a good one.
Would be a real,
Hold on.
Win.
Did I miss something? They can't. He didn't resurrect them. It's
No,
I thought
they're copies. It said it can make copies, these blighting trees. It actually calls them in the blog post, it calls them, and this proves that there's more than one of these trees, it calls them blighting plants. So it says these commanders are experts at using Mordremoth's blighting plants to create Mordrem versions of all creatures. They do not care if their subject is living or dead. Mordrem Guard know how to turn any body into multiple slaves to add to the dragon's army.
So where's Scarlet's corpse?
Did we burn up Scarlet?
No! And I always said, we never did anything with Scarlet's corpse. It just kind of went down with the Breachmaker.
And we never did anything with Aaron's corpse.
We never burned it. I was like, you better burn her body or she's going to come back at some point. I'm putting money that she's a commander. She's a commander. Not Scarlet herself.
Win, I don't know.
Not Scarlet herself because she did die.
Yeah, that's
Win, it has been a long time, but Scarlet herself is dead, so it won't be Scarlet. We're not going to see Scarlet resurrected, but we could see a copy of her, and it could have her memories.
No,
no, it's not a cop out. No,
because it's not her. It's not going to be Scarlet.
It's not her. Like I said, no, it's not her. It's not her.
Listen, ArenaNet, you did this to me in the fractals. You shoehorned her in. No, she's dead. I killed her 50 billion times. Just do not clone her.
Okay. Who else we have? Kate disappeared somewhere. Destiny's Edge is in trouble. I don't think that'd be super good. We have to fight Kaith, but it's not really Kaith or something.
Siren. Oh no, that'd be bad.
Not Saren.
No.
I like Saren.
Well, she's been dead a while too, right? Well,
she's been dead at least
3 years.
Yeah,
it's been a year. That would be.
But Traherne is probably the first person people are going to be like, oh, I would love if Traherne turned into one. So. Which, again, kind of feel at this point, because the community's been like, oh, screw Traherne and all that stuff, it would kind of feel like it would kind of break the fourth wall for me a bit, like they were doing it just for the people who had been asking to kill Traherne.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think they.
I would way rather, from like a narrative point of view, that they kind of redeemed his character for everyone. Like, maybe he does something and people actually like him now. That would be way better than just going, yeah, he is crap, isn't he, guys? Haha, kill him.
Yeah, I don't think they do that to Traherne.
So I'm trying to think. What I was thinking was, it says here living or dead, and they get taken and they get cloned here. Wouldn't it be cool if you play Sylvari and maybe you get captured or something like that, and maybe I don't know, you at some point have to fight yourself or something like that.
You have to fight your evil clone.
Clone
that
the
would
pack
be
commander.
That would be
You
cool.
have had to do that before, haven't you? We did it in Guild Wars 1.
In Guild Wars 1, yeah.
And there's the achievement of kind of where you fight your doppelganger
in the
library. So they could do something like that, like, because they said it was going to be different. It would be a kind of cool way to tell a story, I guess.
Yeah.
To think of any other notable Sylvaris.
Kaith, I was thinking too. My initial thoughts were Scarlet, Aaron, and Kaith.
It won't be Fowlin because she has not been corrupted by the Mordrem.
She's always kind of been. She's been like this.
She's the poster head of resistance to any kind of. That's why I think that the Nightmare Court is actually going to be against Mordremoth, because they've always resisted anyone telling them what to do, whether it be Mama Tree, and now we're supposed to listen to a dragon all of a sudden. No, they're going to resist that.
This is a question I asked Izzy when I interviewed him. I asked him about what influence the Nightmare Court will have in Heart of Thorns, and he was very elusive. And if you watch the launch trailer very, very carefully, all of the corrupted Sylvari have this weird red glow about them. And when Fallon appears in the trailer, she doesn't have it.
I remember noticing that, and so that's why I thought it would be really cool for them to have this kind of middle ground. She's, you know, the Nightmare Court aren't really on any side, because they're just opposing any kind of stupid kind of ruler or something.
She did kill Lineguard with a spear, though.
She did.
That's true.
That might have been a
turned.
Was that a Sylvari Lion Guard that had turned?
I don't know. It looked like a
I don't think it was. I think it was just her being a bit of a bitch, to be honest.
That could be too. I mean, she's not going to suddenly be our friend. She's just going to resist Mordremoth. We have the same enemy, but that doesn't mean we're allies.
Yeah, but it would be cool for her to maybe have to team up for the because obviously the Nightmare Court reject the dream, but there's bound to be some people in the court that are going to be corrupted.
Right.
And so, you know, as she's kind of leading the court now, you know, it might be in her interest to kind of, we're not going to beat this on our own. They're not going to beat this without extra help. We may as well try and help take out Mordremoth or something.
Just the same as the 5 races got together to defeat Zhaitan, I think we're going to have to, because Mordremoth is much smarter than Zhaitan, we're going to have to bring in even more unwilling allies, such as the Nightmare Court, in order to defeat Mordremoth.
What?
Bring the Flame Legion along. We can get to Quattle on our side. And
so, you know how there's this connection between Fallon and Kaith that there used to be?
Yeah. What if Fallon has to kill Kaith?
No. What if Fallon?
No, that'd be cruel.
What if Fallon is after the egg for the Nightmare Court?
Ooh.
Well,
I never thought of that.
Did any of you guys ever get this feeling that the Mother Tree is like the new Glint?
Yeah.
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 In that she dishes out prophecies to
really
all
vague
the
stuff.
Sylvari.
It's annoying. It's always felt like she was kind of holding information back, and even in a time like this, she still wasn't. I know it's a storytelling thing, right? They want to pace the reveals for us, but it's still kind of she's almost too mysterious for her own good. She could have given us the heads up on the dragon thing a long time ago, and maybe wouldn't have marched into Mordremoth's thing, being like, "Let's go kill him." Hey.
So like I'm replaying through the story, and I'm at the point where, out of the blue, Trahern's like, "We gotta go see the Mother Tree for who the hell knows why, just because I said so." So you run over there with him, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I need to take you on. You're not a Sylvari, like I'm not a Sylvari in the story." And she's like, "We need to go on a walk." And then she takes you through this possibilities of what could be dream, and then at the end she's like, "Trahern, you need to be a general." And then in the next story, you're uniting everybody, and everybody's like, "Well, who should be leader? We can't be leader." And you're like, "I have an idea. Trahern's the leader." Because I just had a vision quest with the Mother Tree, and it's like, it feels like she's setting her pawns up in place to like accomplish particular things.
Yeah. Exactly.
I never thought of it like that. That's a good point.
She's very Glint-like.
Now she's gonna go. No, she's
gonna
gonna die.
She's pretty much done for anyway by the end of season 2, isn't she?
Oh gosh, that's the other question. Is Mama Tree
gonna die?
live? If she dies,
because no one can make a new Sylvari.
We have. Well, that's true.
Oh no, and it's the past.
Because it's technically in the past, so technically yes. Though you can make a revenant, so it kind of goes against everything. But whatever.
She'll survive.
She has to, because unless we find another, then we're gonna have to find another protection for the Sylvari against Mordremoth. Unless we kill Mordremoth, and then that frees them all from corruption. So many possibilities. I love it.
I don't know. You know, I'm impatient. I have to wait
6 more weeks. 6 more weeks. And then again, how's the story going to be gated? How long is it going to take us to get through the story?
Finish it in a day, then have to spend like a month waiting for the room. Then it'll be buggy, and then.
No.
Then I'm joking. Hopefully they fixed any kind of exploits to grind XP. The first few days are going to be really heavy on that. There's going to be something. Somebody's definitely going to work something out, and so there's going to be potentially a few people that kind of rush through stuff a bit too fast. At the same time, the part of me is like, I really hope it's not too slow, because a lot of people are going to get bored and kind of, I don't know. everything needs to be perfect, and I'm not nervous for them. I trust that they're gonna do everything fine, and I'm gonna enjoy it for sure. But I think I'm worried about reactions from people, and so I kind of hope that they nail everything perfectly. And so now, realizing it so soon, when they said October 23rd, I was like, okay, yeah, that's decent. And then I realized how soon it was, and I was like, oh damn, like we have specialization still to come. I don't know. It's just, yeah. I don't really know how much they still need to reveal, right? Because they spoke about challenging group content, but is that all they're gonna say about it? I guess they can leave more information till later because that's coming out after the launch. Are they gonna give us like a story blog post just to kind of go over things or hint at what? I don't know.
There's a lot of people in chat. I want to address this one thing about if we kill Mordremoth, is that going to free all the Sylvari? Because when we killed Zaitan, it didn't suddenly, all the undead didn't drop dead. The issue with that is that Zaitan converted them into risen, so they are risen.
It was like a transformed thing.
Right.
This is like
Mordremoth has mind control, and we know that he has a constant link and is constantly controlling everyone because one of his spheres of influence is of the mind. So so if we kill Mordremoth, you definitely wouldn't have any more turning because he can't actively speak to them, and if you play through a Sylvari, he's going to be trying to convert you. That's another thing the blog post said.
Right? Like, we don't really know if this corruption's kind of Mordremoth's upkeep skill or something, and whether it's his continuing influence over them that's keeping them like that, or whether it's a one-time thing and maybe when he's dead he'll stop talking. Do they transform back? Does the bark go back to normal skin? If he's cloning
that's
people,
unclear.
Are all the clones free, or is it just they all die and only original person's left?
Right.
I think maybe the corruption will have to be cleansed in a similar way.
Yeah.
The path in you do the thing with the undead chicken where you turn it back into a normal chicken, using that altar, using the magic, and it's like, so that's there. We know that Glint was reversed, and we know that the Forgotten had this secret spell to unlock, like, uncorrupting things. There's like a few things we can do, and I really hope that stuff comes into it, because if it's like, oh yeah, you stop Mordremoth and everything's okay, like, and the thing is as well, like, you did it to an undead chicken. Why aren't we saving the risen that are still going around? Like, why are we just leaving them?
Chicken.
And yeah, maybe the map's in the past or something, and they still want it to feel like that for new players, and I can understand that.
Yeah, that's.
But like, if it's like, oh, he's dead now, but there's still all these corrupted Sylvari around, we just have to clear the maps out or something over time. It's like, well, why don't you help them instead, cure them of their corruption instead of killing all these people that we used to know. It's, I don't know, reasons. Because
plot.
Exactly.
All right, we're gonna end the show here. We'll keep talking in the post show. So if you're watching live on Twitch, please stay tuned for the post show. We'll continue. But if you're watching on YouTube, thank you as always for joining in. You can check us out live on twitch.tv/Aurora_Peachy. There's a link down in the description every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And you can check us all out on YouTube and Twitter and Twitch. All the links are down below in the description. So thank you so much for joining us for our 50th episode. We will be back next Thursday for episode 51. And
with hopefully some news.
Hopefully. Have a fantastic week, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.
Bye.